All right. Well, thank you for joining us this morning. We are really excited to be here to talk about the next steps for your junior students and how you can help support them the best way possible this spring so they will be ready to launch in their senior year and do all the things necessary to be ready to graduate. There are so many different opportunities that you could provide for them this spring. And today's presentation, I want to go over a few very specific things that I think are important for coordinators to let their junior students know about this spring, but then also open it up at the end so you can be thinking to share some best practices, things that you have done with your junior students to help prepare them for their senior year as you're going through this spring and into summer um, prior to their senior year. So we will go ahead and get started. I am going to take just a minute and I put together a presentation. I absolutely love when I was a coordinator at McNary High School. This was one of my favorite times of the year. You just wrap up, well, and you're not fully wrapped up with seniors. There's a lot to do left with award letters coming out and things like that. But looking towards that next academic year, the group of students that you're going to be working with, and it's really important to start prepping them for what's to come, especially if they're college bound, but even if they're looking for towards careers and trades, to be able to help prepare them for what's going to happen their senior year. As we all know, senior years are very busy with activities and sports and different things going on, senior events that happened. Their social schedules get busier. So the better prepared that juniors are as they go into their senior year, the better they're going to feel and not feel as stressed as they go throughout their senior year. So today I'm going to talk about some things and give you some tools to use with your junior students. The first tool that I want to share is actually from Oregon Goes to College, and we have this link found on our Aspire site. If you go to Oregon Goes to College, or I'm sorry, if you go to our website, the Aspire site at oregonstudentaid.gov, you can click on the Aspire tab, go to College Toolkit, search and selection, and then get organized. And in that drop down, there is a link. And actually, I'm going to have Nomi place the link in the chat for you. But the cool thing is it gives you the opportunity to download this Excel workbook, or it's actually in Google, so it's a Sheets workbook that have all of these sections in it. Each tab, students can go in and place their information, their application, scholarship and college application information in there, the things that they will need to complete applications. For instance, a lot of students don't know their parents' birth dates. They may know the month and the day, but they don't know that the year that they were born. And so all of these things they can pre-do in this workbook ahead of time. I use this regularly with juniors to get them to complete all of these sections prior to their senior year and then add to it as they went uh, into their senior year. It is a one-stop shop, so you can in the next tab it has college information, so you can identify your top choice schools and then list all of the information that you know about them, when their deadlines are, and then you can put them in the deadline list. Scholarship information, the different scholarships you want to apply for and their deadlines. And it also gives you a tab for passwords. So obviously, Google, you can download from anywhere. So as long as they have access to the internet, they have access to this information. And so it's all in one place. I think one of the biggest things for juniors is to get organized. And this is a great way to help your students get organized for their senior year. The other thing that it offers is it offers the opportunity for them, once they have received award letters and things like that, a place to compare costs and financial aid information. And then once those things are listed and they're side by side, it will help them to better make the financial fit choice for them at the end of their senior year. It also has a section where they can start creating a budget. So introducing this spring of their junior year to complete and fill out and then continue using this tool into their senior year all the way through the process at the end of the year is going to be really helpful. Another thing that's important for students to know is we have lots of career and college checklists. The ECMC Opportunities book has a checklist based on fall, winter, spring, and summer activities or details that need to be accomplished in those time periods. Our Aspire checklist, we built out a little bit different. One of the things we know that ECMC has a great checklist that is done in fall, winter, spring and summer. And so students can go chronologically and see what they need to get done. But then we wanted to create an Aspire checklist that actually looked a little bit different, that it didn't go by times of the year. Because what I found as a coordinator is you get a senior student or a junior student in, towards the end of their junior year, and there are a whole bunch of things that they haven't done. And so they may feel defeated before they even start. And so the way we created our college and career checklists is by separating it by sections: an achieve section, explore, engage, prepare, and plan section. So they weren't limited by times of year. They could look towards what they were, wanting to start with. They haven't explored the different types of career or colleges. They could take time to do that at the beginning rather than starting maybe where another student would be in the middle of the year process, if that makes sense. And then we also encourage you to use your on-school opportunities like Oregon CIS or Naviance or other tools that you have that you utilize at your school to prepare junior students. Other thing that you need to know as coordinators as you're preparing your students for their senior year is the FAFSA application. Most of you probably are aware that the FAFSA application is going to change. Along with that, the ORSA application will change next year following the changes to the FAFSA application. But basically, what the federal government is calling it is this is a simplification process. And what they're working to achieve is reducing the number of questions that are on the FAFSA application. In fact, we've heard that potentially the 108 questions that are on the current application will be dropped to a maximum of 36 questions. So this is great news. It will go a lot faster for students to apply. But there are other things that we'll have to learn as we go. And unfortunately, they are in process and developing this. As soon as we have information about the more specific details, we will be sending that information out to you. The one thing that's clear is that the FAFSA application may not be ready to launch October 1st. And that is something that we have heard from the federal government. they are not saying it's not going to launch, but they are saying there's a possibility. And so as we find out more information, I know many of you plan ahead, to do events for FAFSA completion, assistance nights where you are helping students with their application. Um, those things I would put on the calendar, maybe put it out a little bit, maybe not that first week in October, but push it out a little bit. You may still need to change it though. We will be getting that information to you as we receive it. And we're hoping by the time we get back in the summer that there will be a clear, firm deadline of when that's going to launch. But the federal government has told us that it probably won't be. It would be surprising if it was October 1st. One of the funny things is over the years, the ORSA application has sometimes lagged in starting, and who knows, we may have the ORSA up and ready even before FAFSA. So we'll see how that goes this next year. But just know changes are coming. And so as you're talking with students, focus on the positives. It's going to be a shorter application, and those types of things. The other thing that's changing about the application is that we will no longer be seeing the EFC. EFC is going to go away, and we are going to be using the term Student Aid Index, which is or SAI. And that term is going to, I think, hopefully clear up some concerns that families always had revolved around that expected family contribution. You mean you're expecting my family to contribute this much? And that isn't ever really how the whole the situation was. It was a tool that the financial aid offices used to determine financial need, but it was misleading to a lot of people, and it would confuse a lot of families. So this will still be a tool that is used to help calculate financial need. It won't change from school to school, but it is going to be a change in language that we are going to have to get used to as professionals who support career and college readiness. One of the things that I like to point out to juniors as I'm talking with them is helping them understand the financial aid process. And one thing that you can consider doing this spring is hosting a junior jumpstart event for juniors and their parents or caregivers. A lot of schools host evening events or virtual events, and this is something that you can request from our office, and we would love to be able to come out and help support those types of events. The process of financial aid, I always like to make sure that I talk to students about early on, because a lot of students feel like, okay, well, when I send out my financial aid or when I complete my financial aid application, file the FAFSA or ORSA application, and you're listing your top choice schools on that application, I have had many students who just sit there and wait, and they don't apply for colleges because they're waiting to see what award that they're going to get from financial aid. They're assuming that based on that financial aid, because they listed the schools, they're going to get a financial aid award letter. And so it's really important to have students understand that they first have to complete their college applications and be accepted to that university before they get an official financial aid award. So getting students to start early on their college applications and not wait till the final deadlines is something that you can start training them or teaching them in the spring, and have them start preparing their applications. The common application that a lot of students use to apply to multiple schools, the questions for those essays are out there now. And so students could start working on their applications or at least their essay statements now as they are preparing to apply after August 1st or early in the fall. But getting them to apply sooner than later is important to be able to prompt that financial aid download from the federal government and get their award letter complete. The other thing that it is important to know is it's not just for the financial aid packaging. Many of the schools who have institutional scholarships don't allow you to apply for their institutional scholarships until you have been accepted. So those students who wait till January 15th or February 1st, those final deadlines for some of our colleges out there, may not be able to then apply for the additional institutional scholarships beyond the merit scholarships. So having students aware of that is really important. The Oregon Promise Grant is something that starting early, talking about, I encouraged all seniors to apply for the Oregon Promise Grant as a backup plan, if nothing else. Even if they were career or trade focused, it's great to have something in your back pocket. And so I would encourage you to consider ways about, preparing ahead of time to make sure that you have your seniors in the fall start these applications. The other thing, though, that you need to know is if you do have seniors or juniors who are going to be seniors who are planning on graduating early, that is something that you need to be aware of because there are different deadlines for those students. And so if you have early grads, you've talked to your counselors, you know students are graduating at the end of the first term or the end of the semester, it would be important to get those lists of students, or even as you're talking with juniors this spring and talking about those possibilities, to identify those students to help them make sure that they meet the deadline for the Oregon Promise application. The other thing is if a student graduates early, they're going to have to complete 2 financial aid applications because they will have to start in the spring to begin college in order to use the Oregon Promise. So they would have to complete the 23-24 and the 22-23 application. So that's something to know as well. The other thing that you could be doing with juniors this spring is building their activities charts, whether that's in advisory class or you create a seminar or workshop, getting them to start writing down the activities and things that they have done outside the classroom, breaking them down into specific topics like school activities, volunteer activities, academic awards, financial response or family responsibilities, and employment will better help them create their resumes and activity resumes, in addition to getting them ready to do the OSAC scholarship next year. Having them do all of that at once can be really overwhelming, especially when you're having to go back and start from their freshman year, recalling that information. What did I do my freshman year? Now, a lot of our students are COVID students, so they didn't have a lot of things. So having that talk with them about how they can be creative. Did they tutor their younger sibling while they were in COVID lockdown, or neighbor students, or did they help them get on, their computers and get them logged in? Consider outside the box things that may have been, happening, activities that may have been happening during COVID that they wouldn't traditionally think of volunteer work as volunteer work, but actually was based on the circumstances and situations that we found ourselves in over the last, over the 3 years that COVID was a thing. So that's something that you can consider, having those brainstorming events, resume or activities chart workshop would be really helpful for juniors this year or this spring. In addition, creating a resume. Many of you in your advisory classes tackle this, but this would be something that you could provide a workshop or seminar to help them create their resume so they will have it available when they're applying for scholarships, when they're applying for jobs in the workforce, whether that's part-time or whether they're planning on a career going directly into a career after high school. Um, some college applications require that you attach your resume, and for sure scholarships often require those. So make sure that they're familiar with the process, what to include on a resume, and that they need to make sure that they format consistently and that they save it as a PDF. I think that's really important, so it doesn't distract. A lot of students don't know that if you just use a Word document and upload it, sometimes it can change. And so to teach them that when you are finished with your resume, save it as a PDF. So when you attach it and upload it into an application, it doesn't change formatting on you based on the system that they have on their computer. And then the other thing that you can start preparing your students to think about is letters of recommendation. Talking to them about when they need letters of recommendation and who they might ask for a letter of recommendation. A lot of students don't put a lot of time into this, but it's really important to talk about how, you know, who are the adults in your life that you've built relationship with, that who knows your work ethic and the way, you know, the activities that you've been involved in. Typically coaches, teachers, youth group leaders in the community. There's lots of different people that students can use, but a lot of times they need some assistance helping them brainstorm those types of people that they could utilize in their letters of recommendation. Um, then you can talk about, you know, how do I ask for a letter of recommendation? It's not a day before thing. You need to give recommenders 2 to 3 days or 2 to 3 weeks before they need their recommendation letter uh, to give them time to write a good recommendation letter for them. Um, the other thing is, you know, talking with them about these things will help to prompt those discussions now in the spring. And then better, you know, that way they can start their senior year and actually make those connections and ask for those recommendations ahead of time. All right. The other thing that you could start talking about with your students is summer programs, especially students who haven't had a lot of opportunities to get involved in different um, community service or career exploration opportunities because of COVID. This summer is going to be important for them to build their resume, explore career interests, and check out the colleges and universities that they're interested in going to. So I love Oregon Goes to College website. If you haven't gone to this website before, you need to. They have a lot of resources that you can use. But one of the things that they have to offer is a page specifically about summer programs. And I sent out, and I believe the other coordinators sent out an email to you all yesterday um, regarding this exact thing. And so the email should be in there with the link. But I think Nomi has the link that she's going to drop into the chat as well. So you can take a look at the different summer programs that they have listed throughout the state by region, things that you wouldn't necessarily know about otherwise. And I'm sure that there's many more out there, but this gives you a start of some additional things to share with your students and get them involved in over the summer. Learning and growing through the summer is going to show colleges and on your resume that you're a learner. You like to learn and you like to better yourself. So being a part of these programs is going to be helpful for them as they move forward. So there's a little bit of something for everybody. Everything from the Northwest Carpenters um, summer program that we had great opportunity to hear about at our last coordinator connection, um, all the way to different summer programs at universities. Like the Oregon State has a veterinary camp that students could attend if they're interested in going into the veterinary field. There's just a lot to explore there. So I would encourage you to take a look and then share that information with your juniors.
Rochelle, can we ask a quick question?
Sure can.
So Cheryl Hefty asked a question when you were looking at the activities, sort of beginning to sort of really, catalog and develop the activities. How do students classify out of school activities on the OSAC scholarship application? Do they list it under school or volunteer? There's not a category that seems to completely fit non-school related, non-volunteer, unpaid activities. So I'm thinking maybe, Cheryl, an example of this might be like club volleyball or something like that in the community. Would that be accurate? Something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Or we have students who are involved in, for example, an organization through a church or community program. But because there's only the 3 categories, the out of school activities that aren't necessarily volunteer and aren't paid, it doesn't seem to have a category to fit.
If it's an activity, I would put it in activities. If it's service, I would put it in the service, whether or not it fits exactly. We're aware of that and our donors are aware of that. So put it where it best fits. And that will be looked at. Does that help?
It does. I've told students this year just to put it under, because the 3 categories were school, volunteer, or paid. I just told them to go ahead and put it under school.
Yep.
Because it's not really a volunteer gig or.
Right. If it's an
So.
activity, something they're doing outside of the classroom, put it in the activities. If it's volunteer where they're actually giving of themselves or their time, then you would put it, in the volunteer. And then one of the things that a lot of students don't realize is that under the paid section, it doesn't have to be a W-2, job where you're getting a paycheck from an employer. It can be, you mow the lawn for a neighbor or babysitting or any of that type of thing that students are getting paid for their work.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think where students were just confused was because it says school, specifically says school activities. If it's not related to school, they were afraid to put it under school activity.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, I will, and I will take back that feedback,
Okay.
and maybe next year's we can just have activities.
Perfect.
We'll see.
Thank you.
The other thing that I feel like in this day and age we need to start discussing, and honestly, I would start discussing this with students as early as middle school, but for sure, juniors this spring, it's important to have a conversation with them about the social media footprint, and what they're putting out there is something that will be seen by their college admissions officers, by scholarship committees, by potential employers. And so it's really important to counsel students. I always said, if you put something out there on social media, if your grandma can't look at it, you probably shouldn't post it. The other thing that's really important is a lot of students have the impression that, well, this is my personal thing, it shouldn't matter. And whether it should or shouldn't matter, the fact of the matter is scholarship committees and employers and admissions counselors are going out and looking at social media. A few years ago, we saw Harvard rescinded their admissions decisions for 8 different students on their incoming freshmen based off of posts that they saw on social media. So, and I know that that's happening at other schools as well. So it's really important to talk with your students about this. The other thing that's important is there's so many different social media opportunities where it's not what you post necessarily, but it might be what your friend posts that you were involved in. And organizations can see that information too. So just be cautious and counsel them, let them know that this is important. I love this quote that I found, reminder that in today's world, your first impression isn't made with a firm handshake or an email, it's made with a Google search. And that is something we want our students to be comfortable, to be themselves, but we want them to present their best self. And sometimes social media doesn't help them do that very well. So it's important for students to think about, be careful with what they post, what they share, think first before hitting that send button or post button. And then also who they follow and like is something that can be seen as well. So just I think that's a new idea that a lot of college and career folks may have started talking about, but I think it's more important in this day and age to start having those conversations. In spring, junior year would be a really good time for students to take a careful look at their social media and identify whether they should shut some things down or or just adjust things a little bit to help them better represent themselves as they're moving towards their next steps after high school. So that was about a half an hour, and I just shared a bunch of tidbits and information. I was wondering if there are any coordinators on the call who wouldn't mind sharing event that you're doing this spring for juniors, something you've done in the past, a seminar or workshop that you might want to share that are with other coordinators. Is there anybody who would like to? I know that there's lots of people out there who are doing great things.
We do a college camp here at Forest Grove High School.
Tell me about that.
The counseling department, myself, we get together and we just get all the juniors and we start doing researching and talking about schools and what they want to do. So it's just called college camp. It's on usually a evening or a weekend, and we just spend the whole day with the kids going through stuff.
Is that in the spring or is it in the summer or both?
Spring, and then we do another one in the summer for summer school.
I love that. That's awesome.
And we have our career expo coming up next week on Wednesday, which is juniors and seniors.
Excellent.
Hi, I'm Stacy from South Medford High School, and in the spring we do what we call the Next Steps Night, where we invite all juniors and their families to join us for an evening presentation, and we talk about all the ways we connect with students so that the parents are aware of how we're pushing information out so they can help encourage their student to plug into those options. And then we go into breakout rooms based on potential desire for their next step after South. So we have a room about college, we have rooms about financial aid, we have a whole room about trades, and we bring in local tradespeople and our community college to come in and speak on that. We have a room for students who are interested in the military. So we have a variety of options, and we promote all things, not just college. So we're after those encouraging students to do any post-secondary options. So we formulated around that.
I love that. I love the breakout room idea. Does any other school do that or something similar? It's wonderful. Anybody else?
Estacada High School here.
Allison.
We have a college and career fair in April, and it's gotten rather large this year. I don't have enough tables.
Wow.
But yeah, it's kind of crazy. But the other thing, I just hosted an ECMC college night, and they offered $1,000 scholarship to any student in attendance. So that was a big hit, and it was a good overview. And I targeted juniors, but it was a good overview of just kind of post-secondary education after high school. It wasn't just about college, but it was good.
That is awesome. Every student who attended got $1,000 scholarship. Is that what
No, I wish. Wouldn't that be right? No,
Oh,
they
I was
had.
gonna. That's what I thought you said, and I'm like,
No, I know, like
clarification.
woohoo. No, it was if you used their presentation, you didn't deviate from it, then they would give you $1,000
Got it.
scholarship to draw at the end for a student in attendance.
That's fabulous. Any others? One of the things when I was at McNary High School that I did is I brought down students in groups of 5 to 10 at a time, and personally talked with kind of next steps, just pulled them down. I don't know if you're able to pull kids out of class, but just kind of in a smaller group, talk with students, and then about next steps, introduce myself. A lot of, I worked in a very big school, and a lot of the juniors hadn't met me yet. So just to make sure that they knew this was the place to come for assistance, a mentor, college or career, and talk with them about, had talking points about that. And so bringing them down in smaller groups gave an opportunity for them to ask questions. And then I kind of worked through the junior class. And it was great because then I was able to touch base with students, and then they would end up coming back in because that introduction had been made. Any others? Anything that you're thinking about doing this year that maybe you haven't done before to connect with juniors?
I forgot to say that this STK High School again. The counselors, or one of my counselors, and I push into the juniors English classes for 8 weeks, and we do kind of like a college exploration, and we just did a reality check with them. And then next week we're going to go, they did the college exploration on CIS, so we're doing the Oregon CIS program, and then we're going to use that to look at jobs and different careers within their career exploration. And since they did the reality check, they got to see how much they would like their lifestyle that they want, how much they should be making, and then we're going to just continue on leveling. So I think it's been good so far.
Excellent. I would love to see in your reactions, if you guys could find your reactions down there, throw something in the reaction, a thumbs up or something, if your school does presentations inside classrooms specific to juniors in the spring. I'd just love to see how many. Okay, handful. Excellent. That is a great place that you can, connect with teachers who are teaching those junior classes. If it hasn't been done before, I might want to, check and see, even if you could just do a quick introduction of yourself and how you support students in the classroom. But I love that a lot of you are already doing more than that, sounds like. Any other ideas or things that you want to do this spring? All right.
Well, I can share from Beaverton High School. Hi, everyone.
Excellent. Hi, Kay.
We've been doing a monthly series all year, which we call our Future You Family Nights. And we use the overall term Future You as post-high school options, and building in starting. So we don't really say like this is for junior. We have had it open for all students every time we do it, because we also figure there are people that have siblings or it just, we have them also, we target our underrepresented students specifically and provide the presentations in both Spanish and English. And we've had dinners, and that is We've used different funds for that. And so we've had pretty successful. So the next one, though, as we would say, oh, that's perfect for juniors, but we invite everyone. And that one's called the Fit and Match Night. So that's our theme for the next one, would be the concept of fit and match. And I'll do the English. And then our Beaverton schools have a CC, a college and career coordinator, and a college and career counselor. The counselor speaks Spanish. She's going to do the Spanish side.
Wonderful.
So we'll meet for dinner. We'll connect families. We've noticed that after the pandemic, that was extremely important part of getting connected back to school, trusting us, seeing us, trusting us, and letting us support. And then I'll take the English in the library, and she'll stay in the cafeteria with the Spanish speaking folks. And we'll have childcare, and we've done these each month. We have an education pathway at Beaverton, so they're awesome. They like to use that as their hours, practical hours, to set up the childcare, and they do a full wristbands for the kids. They do professional, like they would do like a Chuck E. Cheese, and then they have activities and stuff. So it's kind of a future unite for everyone that's involved.
That's great. And the fact that you provide childcare, I'm sure, draws families that you wouldn't necessarily be able to get otherwise. So
yeah, and that's why we start with dinner. We know that we start at 5:30 with food, get here, relax. And now that it took a lot. We started last spring and did 4 Thursdays in a row just to start building some momentum. And from that, we've just seen it grow as more, and which we had hoped. Once you'll hear this or talk to someone, and someone will come up with a FAFSA question next week at our next one, and that's fine too. Most of them have been FAFSA or for the last couple months focused, but we've done scholarships and other things too.
Excellent.
Can I ask your next one coming up, the Fit and Match? What is that?
So on March 14th, we have we have advisory at Beaverton, so we can put some lessons in, during their advisory period. And they're around this time for juniors, they would be getting the Fit and Match. And that would be talking about schools that are a good fit and schools that are a good match based on, and you can get really touchy-feely into how you see yourself and where that might be. We try to do a little bit of that, but mostly just like use it as more information based. Yes, we want you to think about where you would be most comfortable, what you want to do, but also we need to get you the information, the resources. So we have a sheet that says, fit and match would be, size, place, religious affiliation, all those things. And you can have a conversation. And our hope for this one, we haven't done this one as a night event yet. Our hope for this one is that with the families, there can be some conversations. We would leave more time probably in this one to just have conversations with the family. They can have conversations. We don't want you too far from home. Well, but I really want to, so we don't want to get involved in that kind of like, this is what you should do. Have that conversation anyway. And then we have a worksheet so they can kind of keep track so that by the end of junior year, and why we did it this time is that we're hoping during spring break, if it clicked for anything like, oh, you know what, let's go down and see Western Oregon. We haven't, we talk about it. That's, so we're hoping that would then click into something for spring break and later in the spring. And then hopefully they've saved that in their Google Drive. And then in the when they come back in senior year, then we go, remember your Fit and Match? Let's look at that again. Sure, things have changed. Maybe over the summer you went to Western Oregon and said, that's too small. I want to go to a bigger school. Does that help?
That's fabulous. How many of you had already knew about the workbook that I shared at the very beginning, the Oregon Goes to College Google Doc workbook? Anybody? Okay. Well, I hope that that's a great resource. I absolutely loved it. In fact, my Avid senior class, junior classes started it. And the cool thing about those Google Docs is they're shareable, right? So the student downloads them and they can also be used as assignments. Hey, by this date, you have this part of your Google Doc completed. And teachers were able to use that as a tool in their classroom to get students prepared, but also, and keep them on track, but also use it in an assignment sort of way as well. So that's the benefit of those Google Docs. If those students can share them with their teachers, then the teachers then have access to all of that information and know that their student is on track, especially those avid classes that's a requirement for those students. So, oh, Carrie, you're not, were you talking? You were muted. Oh, okay. I thought you said something. Any other ideas or thoughts, questions? I see that there's a whole bunch of things in the chat. Nomi, have you been?
Yep. I've been watching where I think we pretty much answered the questions within the chat. The one thing I would say is that Stacy did come back to the question about where to put things on the activities chart. The specific question was regarding something like a student being in a community orchestra or that kind of thing. So they've been having students put that in the volunteer section because it's kind of serving their community through their art. So would that be a distinction maybe where it's different than just having them place it under school as a non-school, sort of like as a place? Does that make sense, Rochelle?
I think at this point, because our scholarship is unclear with that, you put it where you feel it best fits, and that's fine. And that's definitely something I will take back to the scholarship team. It's something that I had questions about when I was a coordinator as well, because it hasn't changed in many years. So I understand that. And now from this side, I will definitely bring that up again, because I know many of you have probably already mentioned this before at some point, but I will definitely bring it up with them again as we're looking towards next year. Any other questions or things that you would like to share? Stacy, you're muted.
Going back to the scholarship piece, I know the OSAC deadline was last night. Thank goodness we're tired of fighting the OSAC website battles, and I know you guys are too. But there is a phrase on there that says they can continue to add scholarships even after they've submitted until March 10th. Is that true? They can still go back in and add more scholarships?
And that's on the website?
Yeah.
Then yes.
Okay, we've never seen that before, and I haven't had a student try it. We just wanted to make sure that they could truly, before I start promoting it, go back into their application and continue to add scholarships after they submitted.
If it's on the website, we wouldn't have put it up there if
Okay.
it wasn't. Yeah, and that's new from last year, right? So
Yes.
So that was something that was added then. So I would say yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll pull someone in and try it and see if we can do that.
Okay.
Okay.
And then just so you all know, we were given notification that there will be a process for appealing if students tried to submit last night and they couldn't for some reason. That information will be sent out to you all as soon as we have the official wording. But just so you know that that is coming, hopefully by the end of the day. Mm-hmm.
Oh, may I ask what, with the extension, did you see more coming in last night? I'm curious to know how that ended up.
We had over 2,000 that came in last night. Yeah. Yeah. It was incredible. It was almost 2,500 that came in last night. And so, and they were coming in. I mean, it was awesome. It was fabulous. So we know that there might have been a few based on the issues that we've been having with the application that might not have been able to get in because they didn't have their, it wasn't fully submitted somehow because of a technical glitch. And those are the people that we're going to be able to assist with the appeal process. But yeah, it was very, very, very successful. In fact, what we were told this morning is there were 900 more applications than last year. So super successful. And we really want to shout out to our scholarship team who literally was on the phones and supporting staff. We know the frustrations and the glitches and the technical issues that you all were having, but literally for the last month, they have been constantly supporting one-on-one in group sessions, students and you guys that called in. So their work paid off, obviously.
Will there be a way for coordinators like us to provide any feedback about the new application? Not necessarily tech issues, but maybe formatting issues, because we found the same common problems over and over and over again. And I don't know if people on your side are aware.
If any of you are interested in sharing your experience or suggestions, go ahead and write those out and send them to your access specialist, and we will make sure it gets in the hands of the scholarship team leaders who will be looking to make the application better next year. Any other questions or thoughts?
I do have a question, actually. Do you have an idea with ORSA how long it's taking for them to get back to the students? Because one of my kids filed December 12th and hasn't heard a thing from anybody. And we've been trying to call and get a hold of somebody, but we can't find anybody to talk to.
Probably because they're all on this scholarship. What school are you at?
Forest Grove High School.
Forest Grove. So I'm going to have Gordy connect with you, and we'll have somebody connect. We'll have Gordy connect with you, and then he can find out the person that you need to be connected with, because yeah, that's a problem, and we'll hopefully be able to get that situated. When any of you have situations like that and you're not getting a response, reach out to your access specialist. We have our behind the scenes ways of getting to the people that we need to get to, and we will do that for you. So write us an email, give us a call, and we will help you out. That's what we're here for. Any other questions? Thank you all for joining us today. I am excited to hear the different events and things that you do to support your juniors this spring as you are getting them ready for their senior year. We know you guys do so much, and we appreciate all the work that you do to support students. So thank you for your time today. If you have any further questions, reach out to your Aspire Access specialists, and we will be talking with you all next month. Thank you.